Greetings fellow mammals, it's finally time for our first weapon guide. Before I dive right into the graphs though, I want to thank you all for your support. We just reached the 5000 subscriber milestone with the last video, and to be honest, when I made this channel I was not expecting this rate of growth. I'm certainly not complaining though. But now let's dissect the first weapon. I will no longer be showing my optimal loadouts in the intros. That's because there really isn't a single perfect setup for everyone anymore. Instead I have multiple suggestions for you now. And when I will talk about them later, there will also still be some fine-tuning elements that are down to personal preference. So it just doesn't make sense anymore to pull this all the way to the front. Obviously you may now use the chapters to skip to those portions. Now we will take care of the basic stats first. And no, I will not repeat everything you can read for yourself in the menus. That's why we will start with the damage graph. We have a 3-step profile here, going from 25 damage up to 20 meters to 20 damage up to 75 meters and then down to 16.7 for the rest of infinity. This quite simply translates into a bullet to kill graph going up from 4 to 5 to 6, with a fire rate of 830 that then results in this time to kill, 217, 289 and 361 milliseconds. This is, all in all, a very good performance baseline. Before we talk about the elephant in the room though, I have a new portion for these guides. Headshots. Are they worth it or not? Well, let's bring up the bullet to kill graph again. And now I will add another line for headshots dealt with the regular 1.34x multiplier. Let's start with one headshot. Yeah. I can't see the line. Well, that's because it's directly on top of the default one, which means one headshot changes absolutely nothing. How about 2? Still nothing. How about 3? Oh, okay. So we can save one bullet across all steps if we hit 3 headshots in a single encounter. That's, yeah. We do have access to the hollow point ammo though. That increases the headshot multiplier from 1.34 to 1.5. So let's see if that actually changes anything. One headshot with hollow point, also nothing. Cool. 2 headshots? Okay, so we get the 1 bullet reduction here already. I guess that's nice. What about 3 then? Nothing again. Okay, so with hollow point we can achieve the same reduction, but instead of needing to land 3 headshots, we only have to hit 2 for the same outcome. That is an improvement, but I wouldn't call this great. On top of that, landing more than 2 has no additional effect, and this ammo type costs 15 points. Yes, I know it says 20, but default ammo costs 5, and you cannot have no ammo, so it's actually 15, let's be honest here. And that brings me to the elephant in the room. Yes, the time to kill is good, landing 2 headshots with hollow point would make it even better, but if you tried this weapon on a firing range just once, you will know with this recoil that is going to be very unlikely. And on top of that, the M433 is unfortunately also one of the least accurate weapons in this class. So now I will go through my build process and try to explain to you how I approach these 2 shortcomings. This next section is a bit of new territory for me because I didn't write a script for it. Instead I will try and do this as a live voiceover. So please excuse my rambling. I will improve, hopefully. Üben macht den Meister. Okay, here we go. This is my second attempt. I had a first one that was about half an hour long with a lot of tangents, so I am trying to cut this down now. Yeah, let's just get into it. I only talk about the important stuff and then we'll hopefully have a video that's under 20 minutes. We will see. Okay, so we got the naked gun here. Why do I completely strip it? Well, because I want to showcase the basic recoil, which looks like this. And should be pretty obvious that this is not great. And if I try to control it, it's it does work on the first 3, maybe not even that, on the first 2 targets, but let's say beyond 25 meters, it's an issue. I also talked about the accuracy already. That's not great, and oh, I have to mention one thing again. Currently, since the patch 1.1.30, the firing range here is a bit buggy, so you can't land headshots. You can shoot above the head and still get hit markers. And for some reason, all of these targets have now a Siamese twilling. What's the name? Twins. a Siamese twin, so you can shoot right here and still do damage. Well, the twin is invisible, but you get the point. So currently showcasing stuff on the firing range is pretty inconsistent and not really helpful at all, but you hopefully still get the basic point. So back to here. One thing I want to mention is that the iron sights on this gun are usable. Most of the time I still prefer red dot, but you can use them. They're one of the better ones. And apart from that, we're now going through, I think it's 5 different builds. And before I do that, I want to mention that in this page you have these different weapon packages, and you get these from leveling, from the battle pass, and I think this one is from the extended edition, whatever it's called. Why do I mention this? Well, some of these come with attachments pre-installed, so I might have a weapon on level 1, but already have this package which comes maybe with a bigger magazine or something. So you can use the package to basically skip a few unlocks and use attachments you don't or you basically haven't unlocked yet. So just make use of that if you are ever in that situation. But now let's talk about the different builds I did. So I mentioned the accuracy problem, and the first attempt was to completely counter that accuracy issue. In order to do so, I use the light barrel, because this one improves aim and sight accuracy while moving, and the 20-point blue laser does the exact same thing. Those buffs are, by the way, from my limited manual testing, the exact same. So I'm not sure about the percentage number exactly, but at least these are the same. So we're just going to stack these, and that's all we can do for accuracy. Nothing else here is gonna afflict it, so this is the best we can do. And at this point, I want a suppressor, because you always want a suppressor, essentially. This is a basic requirement for every build. Well, let's say 95% of builds. And so I picked the cheapest one, because that's what I do always. And then I try to build the rest around it. So at this point, I only had points left for my red dot and for this alloy vertical grip, which has no downsides, which is pretty nice. No magazine, no ammo types, nothing else. Now, at this point, if you actually use this, you can, well, not with this current shooting range, but in the gameplay, I used it for multiple games. During the gameplay, you do notice the accuracy is better, substantially better than on default, but the recoil is at a point where it's obviously not as uncomfortable as it would be without any grips or anything else, but it's not great. So you could get rid of the red dot to save 5 points and get a better grip, but that's not really, those buffs right here are not that big. And going from a 1x zoom to a 1.6x zoom with the iron sights is actually a, I would argue, makes the recoil feel worse than any grip we can get for 5 more points would make it feel better in this correlation. So that's basically pretty useless to do. So essentially we are stuck with this. I don't want to use a cheaper grip like this one, because this one comes with a downside for accuracy, which is also, by the way, the exact same percentage as the bonuses of these. So if I use this grip, I essentially cancel out one of those. So at that point I could just unscrew this, use this grip, and now I have 20 points left and I have the same outcome. So that would be completely useless. At least for the build we're currently going for. So this is it. I used this, I preferred it over the completely stripped gun obviously, but it's not great. So the full accuracy build gets a no from me, and at that point I stepped over to a full recoil build. This one starts out with no accuracy attachments at all, basically going in the completely opposite direction with this approach. So I start out with the best grip you can get. I use I prefer the vertical ones, because for some reason I feel like the stubby one, which is not only 10 points more expensive, but only comes with a ADS speed ADS speed improvement, which is nice. but the actual recoil reduction is the exact same as the 35-point vertical one. And although these bars are the same, every time I try to compare these, it feels, at least to me, that the stubby has less horizontal control. So the verticals do feel better, at least in my experience. Maybe you have a different take on that, but they feel better to me. So I use the 35-point vertical one, and then instead of using the 20-point suppressor, I use the 25-point suppressor because this one has an integrated recoil reduction. It's pretty minor, but think about it this way. You get a recoil reduction on attachment that otherwise doesn't have any, at least if you're using suppressors. And you spend 5 points for it because we want to use one anyway. So this is 5 points for a recoil reduction that is slightly below the alloy vertical. And this one costs 20 points. So I think it's on par. Well, these actually share the same. So I guess it would be a grip that's 10 points without a downside basically. And you only spend 5 on it. So now we have the best grip, plus the recoil reduction suppressor, usual barrel, basic stuff, and the rest of the points I just spent on my red dot and the 36 round magazine. And this build is very simple. Obviously you don't have any upsides for Hipfire, so that's going to be pretty bad. But for everything else, even while moving, I can handle the recoil very well now. And yes, it's not as accurate obviously, because we don't have any accuracy attachments compared to the other build, but I'm having a much easier time keeping my red dot exactly on target. So even if my bullets spray a little, they might hit the shoulder or the leg or something else. And that in itself makes the gun more accurate, you could argue. So this is one of my favorite builds. I would say I have 2 first places and then a second and a third place, and it shares the first place with another build. So moving on to a bit of an outlier. This one is my Hipfire build. For Hipfire you obviously want the green 20-point laser for the best laser Hipfire. The flashlight is a must, the short barrel obviously too, and for faster draw speed the 15-point hand stop, which does nothing for recoil, just want to mention that. And at this point already, when you use all of these and the iron sights to save points, you can't afford a suppressor. And you technically need 30 points for the CQB suppressor, because this one has no Hipfire, reduction, that's the word. All of the other ones reduce Hipfire accuracy, and obviously we don't want that for our Hipfire build, so we would need to use the 30-point suppressor, and we simply cannot afford it. That's why I went with the flash hider, so we at least can remove the red diamond above our head when we're shooting, but we're going to be on a minimap with this one. So just keep that in mind. And the rest of the points I then spent on a bigger magazine and the lightweight ammo. Because in this case, and it's one of the rare instances, I guess I have to explain this part. No, actually I will link a video of a small YouTube channel, I forgot the name, I'm terribly sorry, but he did a great video on the mobility stats and I'll link it down below. Basically what he found out is that the mobility bar only affects draw speed, ADS movement speed and that kind of stuff, and switching speeds to gadgets and other weapons, when this number crosses the 5 increment. So 35, 45, 55, 65 and so on. Right now we are at 54, so we're still at the same. If this was 46 right now, it would be the exact same. Nothing would change. But with the lightweight ammo, we can reach 56, and now we step over this invisible border into the next level, so we actually get faster draw speed because we reach the 56 number. So in this rare case, this ammo type actually makes sense to use. And it's only the last 5 points we could need anyway. You could of course, if you want a red dot with a Hipfire build, do this, and it's not going to be much worse. And if we take a look at this, the crosshair is obviously very tight. And I would argue against, let's say 20 meters, maybe with some tip firing even. Not really. but against these targets at the front here, this is very effective. So basically small alleyways, inside buildings, that kind of stuff. Small maps, small modes, team deathmatch, squad deathmatch, domination, king of the hill. If you play those things mainly, this can work. And of course, if you have to, you can still aim, but you essentially have no recoil attachment, so it's not going to feel great. But actually, because I don't intend to aim, I will go for the lightweight ammo. And now we have a very quick draw speed, as you can see, which obviously helps with hip firing. You get around a corner and can instantly shoot. This is my third place. If you're watching for longer, I don't like Hipfire, I don't use it much, and obviously a full Hipfire build is then not going to be one of my favorites. But it does work, and this weapon with its fast fire rate and a 25 damage up to 20 meters, it does have a pretty good use case, at least for small modes, to at least try this out, but it's not my favorite. Moving on to, let's do this one. This is basically the middle of the road. So we have one accuracy attachment. In this case it's the laser, so the blue laser for the accuracy, but no light barrel, just the basic. Then I use the 25 point suppressor again for recoil, the yellow vertical grip for more recoil reduction, the red dot because I want to, and a fast magazine. And at this point I can say that you can do some switching around here for personal buys or different playstyles. So let's say, for example, you don't think that this is enough recoil. Obviously then you can reduce this and take a more expensive one. Or maybe you dislike 250 millisecond ADS speeds, so in that case you could take the slim angled one, because this is one of the angles that has no accuracy downside. Don't use this, because why would you use the blue laser then? Doesn't make any sense, those cancel each other out. So use this one. And now you have fast ADS speeds. Pretty good recoil control. One accuracy attachment. And you get a, let's say, average to okay hip fire from the blue laser. So this is basically the middle of the road build, which can work for, I would say, pretty much every map. If you do play around what this weapon wants to do. But of course, you have the default magazine, so that's kind of a low point, let's say. Yeah, so you can do some switching around. You could do iron sights and then afford the fast magazine. That works too. But now recoil obviously will feel a bit higher because of the zoom. And the opposite of this, if we completely ignore hipfire again, we don't use the laser for the accuracy, but instead we use the light barrel. So that would only be 10 points because the basic one costs 10 and this is 20, so this is just a 10 plus. And now still same suppressor, 25 points. I do use my red dot. I already have the angled grip here for the fast ADS speed, so you could say this is basically the recoil build, but more aggressive, essentially. You get the fast ADS speeds, faster draw speed, and because we don't have any lasers, we can afford the 36 round magazine again. And this is my second favorite. I forgot to mention, by the way. This with the laser is my second place, and this is my other first place. So these two, full recoil build with the 35 point vertical grip and the basic barrel, recoil build, first place, and this one is also first place. I enjoyed both of them equally. This one is a bit more aggressive, I would say, a bit less mid-range, because this grip obviously cannot reduce the recoil as much as the 35 one. But still good enough for 50 meters, or yeah, around there somewhere. And I guess most people prefer to be a bit more aggressive, so this will probably work best for those types of players. For the average players I would go with this one, and people that don't want to ignore hipfire could use this build. Let me set this back to how it was. There we go. This build. And if you're completely weird and only want Hipfire, you can use this one. I do not recommend going for the full accuracy with the laser and the barrel. This is not... it doesn't do what you want it to do. So, first place, second place, third place. Okay, I hope this was shorter. I don't have any feeling for time. Yeah, back to the script. Okay, welcome back to Scripted Sorrow. I hope this new style wasn't too bad to follow. Oh, that rhymed. Please give me some feedback on that in the comments. If I suck too hard at it, I will go back to writing out this entire section in the script again. If you have any other criticism or input when it comes to the series, let me know too. Before I close out now, we obviously cannot forget about a long-awaited section. The tier list. New game, new rules. It still ranges from S to F tier, however I will add the dogshit tier again if a weapon calls for it. But for now these will hopefully suffice. I will also allow myself to adjust my rankings during later episodes, so if I deem today's ranking to be slightly misled in 5 videos time, I will move things around. Of course the tier list page will also make a return to the scribbles as well as my loadouts. I'm still figuring out the layout though. But now where does the M433 actually fall? This is a strong close to lower mid-range weapon with the right loadouts, as you could see, maybe even longer mid-range. You can build it into pretty much every niche within those confines, and overall it is just a good feeling gun. It looks nice, it sounds nice, recoil is a bit iffy, accuracy is somewhat sad, but with some microbursting and a good setup, nothing you can't circumvent. The question down the line will be, if there are better close range options and better mid-range options, why use this? And my current answer to that is exactly because it can do both rather well. The fact it deletes people at 10 meters and 60 meters quite effectively is not something every weapon can pull off, and therefore as it currently stands I will put the M433 in a comfortable B+ spot. We will see how well this will hold up in the future. But that's it for today. Thank you for your time and I will see you on the battlefield. Sorrow out.